Hello everyone and welcome to probably the biggest update that Call to Ascension will ever have. I believe I can confidently say that this game is finally its own. And yes, there are still elements from other games and concepts, but they've been molded into what I believe this game needs to be. At least that's the best way that I can put it. I'm calling this the Overlord update. And while the Overlord light novel and anime were big inspirations for me to even start making a game in the first place, the name has nothing to do with that. Trust me. Just trust me, bro. Now before we start, I'd like to mention that this update is going to be written out as well and posted in the Discord and Kickstarter page. If you'd like to listen, stick around. If you're more of a reader, you have that option as well. For this video, I'm going to be sticking to this script and save myself some rambling, at least until the end. I'll have some extra stuff in there for you guys. The game is still asymmetric, with a larger number of players on one side with a single player on the other. But rather than the D&D or Pathfinder model where a single player drives the narrative and acts as a referee, that player now takes the role of the Overlord. This character is the big bad final boss of the game. They will grow in level, choose stats, classes, and summon minions with the goal of taking over the game's world. The hero's role is, of course, to stop them. Cliché, yes, but a tried and true formula. With the Overlord being actively antagonistic, it was a conflict of interest to continue having them in a narrative role. So then, how does the story progress? The next biggest addition, and what's taken me the most time, is Adventure Mode. Yes, Call to Ascension now has two modes. Encounter Mode, which is your typical wargaming or tactics style gameplay where each unit is controlled on a battle map. Adventure Mode is a simplified game mode that takes place on the continent or overworld map. Instead of moving individually, the hero characters will form a single party and make decisions while the Overlord creates parties of minions. While in a party, unit stats are combined based on stat bonuses. These stats are used for battles, which are a streamlined, turn-based version of encounters. In Adventure Mode, the map is split into regions and areas. Most regions are associated with a racist civilization or settlement. These settlements are one of the goals of the heroes and Overlord players, but we'll get into that later. They provide quests and access to the elemental spirits, which grant their own rewards. Around the settlements are 4 areas of varying difficulty. On one of the maps at the end of the rulebook, you can see how they're numbered. Higher numbers have higher difficulty, with the claw marks specifically indicating just how powerful the creatures there are. Heroes in the Overlord will start the game in Adventure Mode. More details are found in the General Rules section on page 62 of the PDF. Heroes will choose a settlement to start on, while the Overlord picks an area to open a portal. The first portal and demon general of the game are free, but future ones will require resources to be spent to open. The game ends when the Overlord is defeated or the hero party is wiped out without the ability to revive. To get to that point, the heroes will be attempting to inspire the world to bring salvation, while the Overlord corrupts the world to bring Cataclysm. Salvation and Cataclysm is the point system of the game that increases depending on the actions of the corresponding parties. For instance, heroes must defeat a region's creatures to inspire settlements. An inspired settlement gives 1 point of salvation, or increases its level by 1. Certain inspired settlements will also open up the way to challenge the elemental spirits. Overcoming those trials also grant points of salvation. Finally, heroes will try to close portals by defeating the Overlord's demon generals that are linked to them. Now, these generals are powerful and typically won't be able to interact with the heroes until later in the game. The Overlord, on the other hand, must create strong parties of minions to corrupt a settlement's surrounding areas. After all the areas of a region are corrupted, the Overlord may attack the associated settlement. Defeating the settlements gives 1 point of Cataclysm. Once a settlement is corrupted, the Overlord may also then attack any present elemental spirits. If that battle is won, another point of Cataclysm is granted. Once 5 points of salvation or Cataclysm are gained, the heroes may go to the Overlord to defeat them in an encounter, or the Overlord will be freed from their portal to attack the world directly. In other words, 5 levels either way signal the end phase of the game. Encounter mode only occurs when dark parties controlled by the Overlord and the hero party land on the same space. For more details, please refer to the PDF itself. Now to address how to approach the game to hopefully alleviate any frustrations from either party. For starters, area threat level. These can have pretty massive jumps, meaning that players won't be able to brute force region areas all in one go. The point is to use the lower threat levels and quests to grow your characters. Threat levels 1 to 2 are intended for starting adventurers. At level 3, the difficulty spikes to be a challenge for characters that have unlocked their advanced classes. Certain builds are also better for different settlements and areas. Now, the design philosophy here is never to make it harder for you if you don't have certain members or equipment, but reward you if you do. For instance, a quest may require a certain amount of energy to complete, but that energy cost could go down if you have the right gear. The cost will not, however, go up for having other types of gear. People will still frame this however they want, but the goal is reward, not punishment. As for the Overlord, they start off rather weak as well. They will be making decisions on how to use their unique resource, Havoc, which is used to both summon minions, corrupt creatures, and level themselves up. This makes the start of the game quite a bit slower for the Overlord players, but mid-game is where they shine. They should, anyway. We're still in the playtesting mode after all. The next big change is a mechanical one. Many of you have already seen me go over this, but I'll wrap it into this update as well. This change is generally referred to as rolls, like dice rolls, rather than saves and checks from other games. These rolls use stat bonuses. Instead of just being flat numbers that go up based on a static threshold, bonuses will now represent a dice pool. These dice start as D4, and through the process of Ascension, they will increase to D6, D8, and so on. When resistances take place, dice using the corresponding stat will be rolled to overcome the value of the effect. If that roll is less than that value, the resisting unit may spend stamina to roll an additional time. In cases where units are engaged in a contest or reacting to an attack, a clash will occur. These clashes allow players to go back and forth to roll additional dice by, again, spending stamina. Typically, the aggressor in these situations has the advantage, but some classes benefit from being on the receiving end. The specific rules are outlined in the PDF, but this mechanic incorporates a unique way to use stat bonuses and stamina while also giving players more agency in their interactions. Now that the general changes are out of the way, I'd like to talk about what I didn't get around to yet. First is giving hero classes adventure mode bonuses. In the future, classes and subclasses will get perks that will help during traversal or make battling more dynamic. Second is laying out how different weapon rarities will affect what dice are rolled during battles. Off the top of my head, I'll likely just ascend the attack dice for every rarity over 1. So you start off with 4, and then once you get rarity 2 weapons, you roll a d6, etc, etc. Finally, I'd like to reiterate to my backers that I hope this change doesn't come as a betrayal of your expectations. The game will still largely play as intended, but I've finally taken steps towards making it the streamlined experience I wanted it to be. I've nothing wrong with the narrative referee style that other tabletops offer. There's so much more possible between player interactions when the systems are so complex. But I still wanted a game that had similar elements without the learning curve. Something simpler. Admittedly, there is still a lot to digest with this game, but I hope everyone will get accustomed to it. And for everyone who enjoys the narrative style, that is still technically possible with this new framework. Overall, I wanted a way for people to play without turning it into a board game, but also without putting so much pressure on the DM role. Rest assured though, I will likely not make any additional sweeping changes to Call to Ascension. I just feel in my core that this is what it's finally meant to be. For anyone who doesn't like this concept and feels the need to tell me in the comments, I guess you're free to still do so, but I will only be considering feedback from those who do enjoy it and want to see it improve. And it does need to improve. There are a lot of rules that could probably be more clear, layouts that could be improved, and so on. So for those of you who are on board, please work with me to make it better. And that's it for the scripted portion of the game, and I'm going to ramble. So if that's all you wanted to be around for, then you're free to go now. But I wanted to kind of talk about more of what the process that I was going through, why I did this stuff, and try not to say as much. I had to edit a podcast the other day, and I said like 50 times. The filler is just too strong. Anywho, don't count, don't keep track. The main inspiration, I was watching, I forget the channel name, but they're the creators of DrakGamestein. And they came up with the concept of not making the DM into something necessarily different, but giving them a resource. And then that got me thinking, well, what if they have a resource, then it's possible that you could just make another role. And games like Evolve, or I'm sure that there are other types of asymmetric games where you have one big bad and then a smaller team facing each other, Dead by Daylight being one of them. But this way, I was just like, this is a way for everybody to get involved without... It was really hard. I think DrakGamestein's had a lot longer in development time, so they've had a lot more time to like get things fleshed out and get like battle maps and all this stuff. Whereas for me, I'm still just getting the rules out and wanting people to play with it, but it's harder to do when there aren't as many narrative elements or maps to work with or the world to kind of engage with. So at this point, with it being so new and fresh, I figured it was fine to have either a little bit more handholdy or do things that were easier for players just to get into without the need for like a whole bunch of backstory and lore and how do these civilizations engage with each other and what's the scenery and what kind of creatures are here. I'm just not there yet. And that's okay. This now allows that not to be an issue. And now I can continue to develop the world and add more stuff to it without the burden of, oh, I'm just not getting any playtest feedback because people don't know what to do with the game. Like they can't, getting groups together already is like really hard. And now it's so much more difficult when there's less resources to work with. And being my first foray into this, I didn't know. I was hoping that it would just kind of work out. I was able to get a few friends together, but I know that's just not feasible for everyone. And even I was just like, I don't know what's going on, what I should be doing. I'm not a seasoned DM or anything, so I had no idea where to go with it. So this was just a really cool way to do it. It was a lot more. It's a lot more freeing without having to referee. And I don't know necessarily if modern D&D is like that, but I've been like reading up on the history as I've been developing. And that's kind of like the role of wargaming, or what it kind of adopted from the wargaming that it was born from, was that you'd have the soldiers or whatever say what they're going to do. It would be basically theater of the mind, and then the DM or the ref would tell you what is possible within the parameters. They would change the rules as needed, right? And this isn't what that's supposed to be. I didn't want it to be that. I really wanted to figure it out, but I just had no idea. I had no idea where it was supposed to go, what the end goal was, and thank God I finally got the inspiration to do that, and things just kind of fell into place. The battle mechanic was really hard for me. I was stressing about that for probably a solid month and a half, trying to figure out how am I going to do this, and finally just, eureka of once I finally stopped fighting it and let it flow. The concept of just having the party stats and rolling the dice. And the first time I played it with Corey the other day, and it actually worked out pretty well. And that's how I know how the difficulty spikes from threat level 2 to 3 it's drastic, because he was fighting like the giant crabs and just wasn't able to break the defenses. So it was having to like retreat, but he still made like a dent. Like if I rolled poorly with the crabs, then he would make it through, but he wasn't able to like kill one off. And then I started rolling really well. He started rolling really poorly. And then it was just like turn after turn, or like phase after phase, where he's having to retreat. And so, but it was a good experience, because then we got to see like what was working, what didn't. I got to clear a few things up. That's where the claw marks came into play on the map down here, because he's like, yes, you have, because this is the map I gave him, so he know how to go around. But yes, I see the 1, 2, 3, 4, which are like general. It's one away for the random rolls. You'll see that in the general rules, to decide where to go or how to define where you are, what area you warp to or travel to, whatever. But it's not 1-to-1. It's not always like in the western area here. Area 2 isn't a threat level 2 area, but threat level 2 or area 2 in the north west is threat level 2, and then this level area 3 is threat level 4, and then 4 is 5. So it's not always, usually all the level 4 or the area 4s are threat level 5. But the whole idea was just to kind of give like a general idea, but he's like, it would be easier not to have to go back and forth every time. And so it's a little busy. And speaking of busy, look at this thing. It's crazy. These little markers. The other thing for adventure mode is endurance. So each class has a set amount of endurance that they can give. It's explained in the rulebook. And then that's combined in the party. And that dictates how far you can travel. And then it's part of like the decision making, the strategy of how much endurance can we spend, because you use an endurance to attack and defend in battles. So you're using it to traverse, then start a battle, and now you're trying to figure out, okay, well, if it's a threat level 3 or higher, I have a chance to get a random encounter. So we need to make sure that we have enough endurance to do that. So then just like figure out, do we want to take a quest and burn our endurance real quick and then go into this, Or do we want to take out another area, then rest, and then move over here into the more difficult zone? And just stuff like that, you know? So that's basically what you're seeing on screen here. I don't know, is it up? It's up that way. So over there, sorry, it's over here. Hang on. There we go. Okay. So the little feetsies are on the borders. If it's ever on an intersection like this, it means it applies to both borders just because they're all attaching to this. So I tried to keep it a little cleaner for you guys. But yeah, that's all that means is these little feetsies and the numbers attached to them, you'll be able to see clearer on the PDF, are the traversal costs to get from area to area. So that's the other element of it. One thing that I was this came from me wanting to do, like the more time you take, the more the Overlord is able to do, the more they're able to grow. The more turns you take, the more opportunities the Overlord has to get stronger. So that's why I said that this also works in a narrative design. If you wanted to still like have things happen, if you wanted to run encounters per area, that's totally fine. You can definitely do that. If there's a seasoned DM, that is able to, remove themselves from it and give the characters enough to, level up, because it is an experience-based thing. And experience is explained, leveling is explained, all this. You'll still have to read over the PDF. I just wanted to give a general overview. But it's a way to railroad without railroading, because players can always do whatever they want in a game, right? But if they fiddle around too much, or they lollygag, or they go off on this little side tangent or whatever, then the Overlord gets the chance to get more powerful. There is that growing and impending threat. There is that goal. And this map is version 1.0. It's not going to change. Like, this is what it's going to be. Later on, I'll probably add more monsters, or we'll go into the next stage of Teledra's history that will change up how this looks, or the layout, or the relationships, or who knows if the geography is going to stay the same. But yeah, and then the relationship between different civilizations. Maybe all of a sudden there are factions and you have to fight. But for now, you're going to get accustomed to this map. You're going to be able to take on games just like Catan or whatever. There might be some randomness to it at some point. But for the most part, you're going to learn, okay, this is the path that we want to take, right? And so we're going to make this party comp based on this path, and then the Overlord player can figure out their game plan as well and figure what they want to do, how they want to try and take over the world, while the heroes do their best to, min-max, right? And it could be pretty casual. It could be competitive. I think it's just got a lot of, I believe this really has a lot of potential where it is now. And it has finally fully divorced from relying too heavily on what's come before. So now it's for those who've come after, right? I never wanted to copy Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons. It's just they had the longstanding history, and why reinvent the wheel? That's why one thing is people be like, well, it's already been done. Yeah, fighting games exist. Doesn't mean new ones can't come out. Doesn't mean the League of Legends one shouldn't have existed because we have already had Tekken for the past 10 years. Or longer than that, sorry. And it doesn't mean the Street Fighter shouldn't exist either. And it doesn't matter that 14, doesn't mean that 14 shouldn't have existed because we already had 11. It doesn't mean WoW should have never been made because we already had 11. You know what I mean? Yes, there are things that have come before. Yes, there are going to be elements that I've taken from. Yes, it's not fully original, but now it's its own thing. Fully, it's its own thing now. And I never meant to rip off anything. I just wanted, this is my first foray into tabletop because it's the most accessible. All you need is the book. You need some pen, paper, your imagination, and that's it. You can just get into it. You don't have to buy a console. You don't have to have a PC. You don't have to have whatever else, right? It's quick, easy to get into. Only one person needs the book. Everybody can play together. It can be, I'll probably be looking into making it into a tabletop sim mod at some point, or edition. I want to take this and make it into a video game at some point. So now we have the baseline for this, and we can, have it so it's like Final Fantasy Tactics, where you're moving around the map, going to areas, doing battles. They could all be encounters at that point. We could still keep the quick battle element. There's just so much potential now. So that's what I've been hoping for. and we'll see where this goes. I still have to at least finish this, which brings me again to this took about 3 months. I'm not complaining. This was like super necessary. I'm really happy with where we went. I chose to do all this. And it was, if I look tired, it's because I've been stressing out. I said I was going to get this out this month, and I got it out this month. I did it. Gosh. The deadline that I'd originally given myself of December of this year is no longer tenable. It's just not going to happen. With the bare bones that I had before, what I thought, I genuinely thought that's what I needed for the game, just to like get something out, right? I did not mean to be like, oh, I just need to upend this. And that's why I said, I'm not going to do this again. It has every piece that I want it to be, and good or bad, I'm sticking to this. I'm going to improve it. I'm going to streamline it. I'm going to make it as good as it can be in its current form. But I don't think it needs anything else. And if it does, that'll be probably a conversation for like an expansion later down the road. Not to like push it out and then sell the completed version or anything like some AAA studios do. But I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to really try to stick to this. And but it took like 2.5, 3 months to figure out all this extra stuff, all these mechanics, how things will work. So not even considering playtest time and the time it'll take to get the feedback necessary, but also to get all the other advanced classes done, to polish the Overlord. That was pretty rushed. I got some basic stuff in there. I'm probably going to want the Overlord to at least have 2 pages per class like every other class has, but right now it's just like, this is what you get per level, this is what they do. And like the cool thing about the Overlord is the array of minions that you get to control. So there are still things that I want them to do that are cool. They have their magic tier and whatnot. I'm going to add more tiers to that. And yeah, I mean, it's moving forward now. Now I can move forward. I think it's irresponsible of me to give a hard date. I'm going to aim for probably April or May of next year to at least have something where it's like we're just playtesting now. Like if I can get to the point by April to just be playtesting and just be polishing, and you know it depends on like the rate of feedback that I'm getting. If people are like still giving a whole bunch and like this isn't working, this doesn't make sense, then I'll take more time. But otherwise, I'll probably just stick to like a month or two after that and hope for a June, July of next year full release. Again, those of you who are in Kickstarter, have the early access, you're going to get full access to this anyway, so that you're getting the game as it's being completed, so you're good there. For those of you who are doing the free access, this update, this PDF, is going to be improved, but a lot of stuff is going to, like the Overlord end game stuff is going to be cut out for you guys, and as far as like enemies added, this is going to be it. So like I've got to get something for the people with early access, right? I still want you guys to play it, but hopefully you at least get to see what the game is, how it's supposed to play, and if that excites you, then cool. I hope to see you on board when we're finally done. But if it doesn't, then that's fine. It's the internet. I know people are always going to be compelled to share. This looks like trash. This sucks. I don't want to play this. I just prefer the other way better. It's like, you don't have to tell me that, because it's not going to change anything, but I guess you're free to. You're more than welcome to, I suppose. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, do you just want to hurt my feelings? I can't do anything with that information. I'm not going to, what can I do? Aside from, like, you want me to cater to? Anyway, it's a whole thing. I've just noticed that not everybody, but there's certain people in the fan base that are just like, hey, I like you. I've been following for a really long time. Now let me make the most unnecessary, gut-wrenching insult at you. It's like, okay, you're my friend, right? Okay, cool. That's awesome. Anyway, it's the joys of a creator online, right? Something I signed up for, I suppose. Anyway, that's it. That's pretty much it. That's my rant. That's my long old thing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys like what the game is. If you don't, again, that's fine. I want to get it done. That's really, at the end of the day, that's what's important for me, is just getting it done. I said I was going to do it. I will do it. That's a success for me. You know, financially, will it succeed? I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, God willing, right? Is it ever going to break out beyond my community? Maybe not. Will people find ways to still make me feel bad for whether it performs or how it performs and say that I'm coping if I'm happy with it? Yeah, that's just it's a pill that I've had to swallow. And it's something that it's broken a lot bigger creators than me. So as much as people want to be like, you signed up for this, this is the internet, get over it. It's we're still human. We still have feelings. We still have whatnot. So I guess I'm giving ammo for people that don't like me to hurt, but I'm still pushing forward in spite of that. I'm going to do it because I'd rather, like I said, at the end of my life, I don't get a new game plus. I don't get a do-over. And I don't want to look back and be like, man, I wish I wasn't as scared to fail. I wish I wasn't scared to take the chance. I wish the ridicule didn't stop me from following a dream. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm risking it all. Not all, but anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoy this. Let me know the feedback. The Discord link will be in the description if you want to follow along and get all this stuff. Otherwise, I hope you're enjoying the content regardless or otherwise. So, yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day, night, wherever you are. God bless you all, and I'll see you next time.